Welcome back. This is Jeff Byers, instructor for NA 150, and this is Module 3, and I'm going to be talking about hard surface modeling and some techniques you can think about while you're modeling, and keep them in the back of your mind, maybe in the forefront of your mind. So hard surface modeling usually is a little different than organic modeling. Usually I think of organic modeling as live creatures, organic shapes. Hard surface modeling usually is man-made. Of course, there are other people that think differently, and that's okay. That's what I love about being an artist. We can disagree. So the idea here is that when you think about hard surface modeling, you want to think about starting out as simplistic as possible. So which mesh would you pick to start off with? Okay, if you said this grid, that's incorrect, because there's just too many subdivisions in here. And even though you think you have a lot of control with this, you don't. And when you start moving vertices around, it becomes very clear that you're stuck. So, all right. So unless you use tools like soft select, which allows you to move things around a little bit easier. So I tend to go with something more simple when I model, and you're going to be watching me model the sci-fi weapon, and I start with very low cages. The reason for that is it's a lot easier to control. And with hard surface modeling, you want to start off slow. Okay, so if I hit the 3 key here, you can see that. Let's go ahead and get this back into, and hit the 3 key and go back in here, and you can see that I've got a lot more control. So I can lift these two up and then pull this one down and this one down, and to get this shape. Okay, now to get the same shape over here would take me a long time, right? I'd have to pull that up, and and then this up, and then this up, and then bring this down a little bit. It's just horrible. So you can see why you never start out with high subdivision, okay? Especially when you're doing organic, or when you're doing hard surface modeling, okay? It's much easier to get your broad strokes, and this is if you get a good teacher in organic modeling, they share the same things. You start off slow, get your form set up, and this is how I model cars and everything else. And once you get that set up, you're good to go. A lot of beauty in hard surface modeling is keep it simple. And I tell my students, keep it simple, silly, because it really hurts you when you start off way too high resolution. So another thing to think about is consistency. You want your edge loops to be consistent. So this is a good grid, but it's just too high res. This is a great, it's another example of a good spacing. Okay, this is terrible spacing. Okay, that means if I go in here and hit the 3 key, get it in smooth preview, I go ahead and select a vertex. And when I move it up, you'll notice that I've got I don't really have very much control over this. Okay, and when I move these things in, some pieces I'm going to get different. I'm going to get some different results because of the edge loops are so close together, and so you get something that looks like this. Let me go ahead and turn off wireframe. And this type of look, the problem with this is you get creases. And this is a great example. If you want a crease, that's fantastic. Add those edge loops in, but don't start with situation like this. That's not good. Okay. If you end up with something like this, that's because it was designed that way. It's what you wanted. Okay. Start off with something like that, low poly. Okay. And get your form set up. Okay. So you'll see me when I'm modeling that I go really low poly. So when I click on a cylinder, why wouldn't I just start with that? Well, I mean, makes sense. I could do that, right? But there's too many divisions in there, right? So what I end up starting with is something like 8. That is a really good number to start with because I can turn those triangles into quadrangles. Another thing that I do normally, is in subdivision caps, I always put at least 2 in there. Okay, and that really helps me because I can go in there and add edge loops without having to extrude. Okay, so with hard surface modeling again, and I've said this time and time again, you cannot work with infinite edges. Now, even if you're doing low poly, you really don't want to work with infinite edges. Now, you can get away with it in game with low poly because you have a high poly, and you're actually going to go ahead and bake those normals into the mesh, and you can bake that round edge that you have from the high poly onto the low poly to some degree and get a good result, you know. But the objective is in hard surface modeling, especially high poly modeling if you do for film, not just for gaming but for film, you do not want that infinite edge. Okay, what does that mean? That means a 90-degree angle. Now everything, and we're taking for granted that even in real life we do not have an infinite edge. There's no such thing. You could look at a razor blade, you would think that would be an infinite edge. That would be just as sharp as you can get, and you would be almost right. But it's still under a magnifying glass, microscope. We see that round edge. Okay, there's a round edge there, and it reflects light. Okay, the problem with this in CG, this edge that comes with a cube, comes with the cylinder, and it comes with the plane. This is an infinite edge. It will not, no matter how much light I put on there, will not reflect the light off the surface. Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but that's why we do hard surface. That's why we do fences and supporting edge loops to the edges. So that's why you see, you know, when I go into this edge and double click on it, and I can hold down the shift key, right mouse button, go to slide edge tool, middle mouse button, just move that out. That's when I do hard surface modeling. I can do something like this, where it's fairly easy to go ahead and add some edge loops and get a nice edge on it. You get a nice edge, and it looks like it's infinite, but it's not. And you can get really close too. Bring that out a little bit. There we go, like that. So when I hit the 3 key, notice we get a nice round object. When I click off, you can see that roundness right here that reflects the light. Now if I take this object and duplicate it over, I don't know why I got, hold on, there we go, duplicate it over, and I want to smooth this, so let's go ahead and go to mesh, smooth, and just happen to do, let's do something like 3, a little bit overboard. But you see that beautiful edge that I got just from this, and this is also called fencing, but just supporting edge loop that supports that corner. And what it does is it just averages between, when I do smoothing, it averages between this point and this point, and so it gives me that edge. Okay, it gives it that roundness there. Okay. Yeah, that's a lot of wasted polygons, but we're getting to a point now where it doesn't really matter, because if I were to go in here and I would do Control D and move this over. As much as I love bevels, let me show you what the problem is with a bevel. With a bevel, unfortunately, let's go ahead and take care of these real quick. The bevel, let's do a quick one here. Bevel, let's see what we get. 0.5, that's probably too big. Oh yeah. So let's go do something like 0.1 or something like that. Let's get closer than that. Let's do 0.05 maybe. There we go. That's a little better. I think we can go even more. 0.025. Sorry about this. Alright, there we go. Okay, that's better. Alright, so I click on that. Alright, so yeah, okay, so you can see the difference between, well, I mean, that's not a really good example because I'd have to go a high res. Let me do that. Go a high resolution here. So it looks like that one. Let's go like something like 48. There we go. Alright, so let's put this next to the other one. There we go. Okay. So this will give us a nice round look. And let's go in here to edge. Let's do this real quick. Now that I got it all set up, I'll just, didn't remember it. Let's go back and just 0.025. There we go. Alright, so that's better. There we go. Okay, so we got basically almost the same exact edge. Okay. Now, which one looks softer? Okay. Now, when you're up close, you can tell. You can tell because you can almost see the lines. If I click on, you can see that edge right there on both sides. You can see that edge right there. Here, it's blended in beautifully. Yeah, it's a waste of polygons, but not if you're in a film and you're like you have to get up close and you see this. You can see that. You can see that render. But far away, oh no. So it depends on how close the camera is. Okay? If you know you're going to be close, you're going to show your model off really close, you might as well model like this. But if it's a big object, you can get away with beveling objects, right? Tons, you can save tons. Because right now that one is at 336 faces and this one's at 3000, right? Wow, huge difference. Okay? And from a distance, they look the same. Their light reflects off the same. Why not go with beveled? I'm okay with that, but you have to be mindful that if the camera's close, this will fall apart. The bevel always will. Okay? All right. So with that said, then I tend to model like this mostly all the time because computers are super fast. Most computers now are super fast and I'm not too worried. This will slow you down in renders. This will be way speedier. So if you have a computer that is struggling and you need to render something fast, this will render way faster than this. Now if you get a fast computer, the difference between these two is not much. Okay? Now, we're talking 3000 compared to 336. Now, if we're talking 3 million polygons times, let's say 100,000, this would render way slower than this. Okay? So it really depends on your situation. But one thing is for sure, you don't ever want to have something without some kind of a smooth edge. Okay? Right? Okay. Alright, so let's see here. The next thing I'm going to show you is modeling techniques you can use. Okay, so this is one of the things that perplexes students without using a Boolean. How do you get an inside cutout? Those are fairly easy. Again, go with low poly. So I'm going to go ahead and move that to the side and show you how to do that. So one of the things that I do is I usually break it up 4 by 4, and of course you can do this with larger subdivisions as well. It's a lot harder to do. So the thing I do is I'm going to go ahead and click on the faces that I want. I'll just go ahead and create the same one I just did. And I'm going to go ahead and start off with an extrude. I'm going to go ahead and push that down. Now I'm going to take that out, and I'm going to go into thickness. So I'm going to move that down. And you can see I can get to a certain point, and it's really tricky here. Let's go ahead and do 0.25 maybe. Pretty close, and hit delete. There we go. And so what I need to do is make sure that these vertices there's not double vertices. There's like 3 on top of that one. So we've got 3. So we're going to have to go in there and merge. So I'm going to go to Edit Mesh, Merge to Center. Do the same on this side. I'm just going to hit the G key. That reinvokes the same tool that I just used. It saves a lot of time. And then I'm going to use edge. I'm going to get rid of that edge. So Control Delete. And this edge too, Control Delete. And then in here, we're going to go to selection mode. And I'm going to go into, let's see here, go into my append to polygon tool. Click on the top edge, the bottom, hit enter. Click G, top edge, bottom, and then enter. There you go. And there it is. Those are the hardest things to do. You can tell that it's not too hard if you know how to do it. And you can create some pretty crazy things just by remembering to. And you can also continue adding to these by using the append to polygon tool. It's a great tool. I love this tool. So just follow the edges there, and you do get some strange things if you're not careful, but nothing you can't fix. There we go. So I got a little bit of a, I don't know what you call that, kind of a shading preview error. Okay, so let's go in here to edge, and let's go ahead and select, go to display, go to harden edge, and that took care of it right away. Okay, so that's one thing. Inside edges is tough to do. How do we create a circle, circular object in a square area? So there's a tool you can use that is a lifesaver because we didn't have it before. Circularize. So I'm going to select the, you got to have, the only caveat is you got to have faces around it. Alright, so make sure you select face and go into Edit Mesh, Circularize, and make sure your divisions are at least 1. There we go. So that gets us started. Okay, and you can make changes to the offset and all this other stuff. Alright, now I'm going to keep it flat. Radial offset, again, will help change the size if you want to do that. Keep it the way it is. I'm good with that. And then twist, you can twist it. That's kind of cool. I actually like that one. It's kind of cool. Alright, so what I'm going to do is, that's wonderful because we're gonna go ahead and create this, turn this into a hard surface model anyway. So I'm gonna go Control E and click on that guy right there, and then click on the center, move that in. Control E, and we're gonna move that up. Control E, move that up. Control E. Go in here and do kind of scale that out a little bit. Control E, move that up. Control E, whoops. And we'll scale that back in again. Move that back up. There we go. Control E, and then move that up. And then we'll Control E and then scale that in again. There we go. Okay, so you can create some pretty insane stuff, actually. I'm going to add some more edge loops here to kind of tighten this stuff up a little bit. And this is all about hard surface modeling. I'm going to keep that nice edge in here. I mean, we're going to really tighten that edge up. There we go. I'm going to tighten this edge up in here. I mean, this is going to be really sharp. There we go. And then, of course, we go into here. We can tighten those edges up. Okay, I'm going to keep this nice and loose right here. Tighten that edge up really tight there, and here, and here. On the inside of this one, inside of this one, on the outside of this one. I'm just adding all the support edges. It's crazy how many support edges you're going to need for a hard surface model. Just got to support all the edges. If you see something looking really sloppy and not correct, you just probably forgot an edge loop. Okay. Alright. And that one didn't go all the way through. That's not good. It's probably because we've got this guy in here, you know. And that's kind of disrupting stuff. So we might have to bypass that around. So hit that and then go around like that. That caused some problems there for sure. For sure. So I think what I'm going to do is Control Z back. Unfortunately, don't want to. For these, I think I'm gonna. I think that one works, but let's see what happens when we cut a line through there. Yeah, it cuts through there. That's not what it should do, actually. If we do that over here, we're good. I suppose what I could do is cut an edge here, right? And then move it, slide it. Should be able to do that, right? Slide edge through. There we go. There, see? That wasn't so bad. It wasn't working before for some odd reason. Okay. Well, it keeps snapping. Don't like that either. Go into the slide edge tool. There you go. Snapping points. Snapping tolerance. Blah. Okay, now let's try it. Nope. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Turn those snapping tolerances off, and you're good to go. There we go. Perfect. I just can't do an inside one, which kind of stinks. I'd have to go in there and stop it here. That is weird. Okay. Alright, so you get the idea. Let's see, can we still do insert edge? Let's go into selection mode, insert edge loop. There we go. Continue doing that. Okay, we can still do this and give you the idea of what we're going to be doing here. Okay. Alright. So add as many edge loops as you can. That one kind of stopped me a little bit there, and I could figure it out and put it in, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. Okay, add this one right here. The back is usually pretty easy to do. Alright, so let's take a look what we got. And let's take a look at this without edge loops. This is not a hard surface model without edge loops, so I'm going to go ahead and select both of them. There we go, like that. And let's get this one in object mode and go, and let's delete by type history. There we go. Alright, so let's hit them at 3. Okay. Alright, so you can see the difference. The areas that I was able to add edge loops are super nice. Hard surface modeling right there. Look how tight that edge is right there. Look at that. It's really good. And then we look up at the top here, you can see that's all, you know, nice and, you know, the edges are really nice and fine there. And look at the difference between the two. Now this one's just caved in because I wasn't able to actually add an edge loop. I could have added an edge loop here. That would have helped it. Right? And supporting that edge there too would have been helpful. I just can't go up in here. I mean, I can do it, but I'd have to do it by hand, and I don't want it destroying what I got already. So it would take a little bit longer than I want to spend in this example, but it can be done. Alright, so hit 3 again. I think that kind of helped a little bit. Here we go. That's a lot better. Much nicer. And it looks like I still missed some edge loops here. Did I? Yeah, I did. Okay, so I can add one more here. Here we go. And you're going to get good at adding edge loops and hard surface modeling by the time you get the sci-fi weapon done. Believe me. There we go. Much nicer. Looks good. I need to spend more time on it, but you get the idea. Hard surface, and with no fencing at all, you get this sloppy, pillowy, and that's not what we're looking for. Okay. We're looking for machined parts. Now again, we don't want infinite edges, so we've got to do fencing or supporting edge loops. Okay? Alright, sounds good? Alright, great. Alright, we'll see you guys in the next video.